I'm Ali Adnan. I'm the co-founder of Authlete. And today we're going to be talking about building your own authorization server, liberate yourself from vendor limitations. Is this the... Yeah. So, I mean, this is a, this is something that we all talk about, right? I mean, whenever we want to deploy a new technology or we want to, especially in the identity space, there's always a dilemma that says, do we buy or build? And earlier yesterday when I was at another talk, I really liked somebody saying that, hey, should I SaaS it or not? SaaS it or build it? So I just, last minute incorporated the slide. And so when there's a dilemma in terms of should I buy it or build it, and you reach a conclusion saying that, okay, I'll buy it. But, so you decide to buy a SaaS service. You've got a solution within your budget, and you were able to go live within your schedule, and it all looks good, right? But recently, what we've heard from many of our partners and customers is that once you buy a service and it's up and running and everything looks good, you start to realize that your future really becomes dependent on your vendor's roadmap. So when you want to make a change, or when you want to support a new feature, or when you want to make any changes, you're like, you go back to your vendor and he said that, oh, can you support this, or can you support that, or this is what I want to do. And sometimes the vendor is like, yeah, sure, we'll do that for you. Or sometimes they'll be like, well, we can't do it right now because it's not on our roadmap. And then you start to realize that, okay, well, I guess I'll just have to wait. You don't have control over your brand identity. So when you're talking about your authorization server, your vendor obviously hosts your authorization server. It's a managed service. And it's very convenient because, they manage the whole thing. But what really happens is that when your users access your service, you're sending them over to your vendor's domain even for a split second, because they're obviously managing all the access token management. So some companies who start to become very consciousful about having their brand identity in place, they start to feel like, hey, we don't really want to send our customers to the vendor's domain, even if it's for a split second. We want to keep them all within their service domain all the time. You don't have control over your touch points between your users and service providers. Again, you're dependent on your vendor because your vendor is providing you with a managed service. So how do your users interact with third-party services? Yes, of course, many of your vendors will provide you with that information, but you have to ask for it, or it is provided to you by a third party. It's not something that you have full control over. And when you think about all of the above, these are pretty critical factors that you start to begin to realize that, yeah, you're dependent on someone and you wish you would have had control over all of these aspects yourself. So let's do another review. If you buy a service, the pros are faster time to market. Of course, you get a managed service out of the box. It takes care of all of your authorization workflows. And it's better suited actually for a new or greenfield solution without established user journeys. The challenge is, of course, is that outsourcing limits customized options. We all know that now. Requires retrofitting existing UX in what the vendor provides you with. So the vendor would provide you with templates and will tell you that, yeah, it's customizable and you can do a lot with it. But again, it's within those templates that the vendor would provide you with. Implementing changes are beyond standard, and there are limited deployment options, of course. So some people might say, I'm not going to buy it, I'll build it. So what happens then? When you build it, you're like, well, I want to build it, but I'll need experienced resources. I'll need more time. I'll need to think about maintaining and supporting it on a long-term basis. That means I'll need to invest in a team. to keep updating on supporting the evolving standards and specifications is, again, a challenge. So the pros are that, yeah, you have complete control over what you're building, but the challenges are that the security is not a one-off task, need to have a team of experts, and constantly stay on top of changing landscapes of compliance and security standards. And the time to market will take longer. And that's where we come in. It's a buy and build model. It's a little bit of a best of both worlds, and it kind of sounds very good. But what this actually means is that you buy the components, the building blocks from us, and you build it yourself. That's our model. We empower our customers to build this yourself. So you have full control over the UX and the user data. You have flexible deployment models, either on-prem or on the cloud. It seamlessly integrates into existing ecosystems. So somebody might say that, hey, but I'm using a vendor solution. How do I use Authlete? Or I have my own. Well, we can integrate with almost any third-party service because we're an API away. And I'll explain this in the next slide. I can build my own authorization server and have Authlead manage the tokens based on open standards and specifications. I can have full control. And think about this. A lot of people might say that, no, I'll build it myself. But when you build it yourself, do you really have developers and experts who know about FAPI? You must have heard about FAPI or SIBA, MTLS, Depop, SDJOT, the OID Federation, and so many of the other standards that are beginning to become more and more important while you build your own authorization server. And so with Authlete, you buy the components, you build the authorization server yourself, and you offload all of this complicated and difficult bits to Authlete, who would then instruct your server in how to manage your tokens based on these open standards. The blue part is where Authlete sits. So we sit in the backend of your system. What that means is that the integration with relying parties using the latest OAuth and OIDC standards. We don't use any user credentials or attributes. So we don't have access to your database per se. We don't manage or have access to any of your user information. You can have your IAM or your login. You can use your existing IAM and login. And we work with any third-party solutions, including your API management gateways, because we communicate with your authorization server through an API. So you'll just have to build a few endpoints, and we will communicate through those endpoints and empower your authorization server to be fully compliant with the latest standards almost immediately. So we have been in the business since 2016. It's almost been 8 years. So we are specialists in this field. If many of you may have heard about FAPI, which is used to be called the financial grade API, and we were one of the first to be fully compliant and certified. And many of our team members, many of our senior team members, of whom Joseph and Justin are over here at the EIC conference, they have been contributing in writing the specifications for the OpenID Foundation. Taka Kawasaki, our co-founder, has also been very much involved and active in contributing to industry best practices. We have a growing list of customers around the world. We have around 100 large enterprise customers who have looked at Authlead and said, yes, we want to build this ourselves. We do have the resources, we do have the funding, but it is, after all, quite complicated. So if we can build it ourselves and have full control, but leave it up to the experts in doing all the heavy lifting, is really something that many of these companies realize that, wow, this is the best of both worlds. And at the end, this is the last slide, but I'd like to talk to you about a use case with Nubank, which is one of the largest digital banks in the world, based out of Brazil. They have over 100 million account holders today. And they came to us and they said, we've looked at different solutions, we've looked at different vendors. Nubank prides itself in building everything in-house. They don't buy from vendors. But when it came to their authorization server, they needed help. So they were looking around and they said, we can buy from Authlete but build it ourselves, which means they can still be true to their fundamental values of building it themselves, but they were able to offload the complicated bit to Authleate. And so I'd like to end my presentation with a video from Nubank, which is a testimonial in terms of how they have used our solution and benefited from it. So if you can please play the video, please. We're just making some adjustments. Sure. While we're waiting, yeah.
You talk about the quick deployment. How,
yeah.
Your customers, roughly, how quickly can they get
things
up and running?
So Nubank is a really good example, a very large organization. And from first contact to when they went live, it literally took them 8 weeks. So that's the power and speed of how you can build something so powerful in such a short period of time.
Anyone got a question while we're waiting for YouTube to kick in?
What would be the optimal customer profile? What should be in place in an ideal situation that they benefit most from your offerings?
So I think there are a few customer types. One would be a bank like Nubank, who are it's kind of interesting in the sense that people who want to build an authorization server, an IDP, identity management systems themselves, would be more inclined to work with a company like us because we're empowering our customers to build it themselves. It's kind of different to how other vendors approach their customers by saying that give it all to us, we'll manage it for you. We're saying do it all yourself, we will empower you to do so. So companies who would like to build it themselves will be more inclined to come to see how we can add value to their services. Then there's also system integrators who may want to who may want to provide this service to their customers, and so they would think our components will be very valuable for them. Yeah.
Okay. Do we have the video now?
Sure.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Then we'll do your question.
My name is Luciana Cairala. I am the General Manager for Open Finance at Nubank. Security is definitely a key piece in delivering open finance to customers. At times they feel that it's not right to share data, so on and so forth. So we really need to install a system that inspires trust and that it works to customers. When we look to all the protocols, that was something that we didn't have internal knowledge. We would have to invest a lot to build that from scratch. Time-wise, it didn't make sense, and also it's a bit far from our core, everything that we do internally. When I looked to the market, we found that Authlet was the best company out there with the broader experience on that, experience in other markets as well. And the scalability component is definitely a key to us. We wanted a company that had deep knowledge in processing all the security standards, FAPI, Auth 2.0, OpenID, other certifications, and we did have regulatory dates that we had to comply with. And when looking to a provider, we really wanted to find someone that was very connected with our principles, engineering principles mostly, and that could scale as fast as Nubank has done. We like to build most of the things internally because it's really important for us to have control of the full experience and deliver something to customers that it's really great. We have one opportunity to really delight our customers. Once we lose this opportunity, it's really hard to convince our customers to interact with Nubank again. One of our principles is we want customers to love us fanatically, and that's a key principle. We need to scale, we need to deliver the best service, we need to be available and reliable 100% of the time. And that's when Authlet comes to place, like in terms of the speed, technology, availability, reliability. Those were definitely things that we were looking at when choosing a partner in open finance, that it's a strategic pillar, strategic agenda for us at Nubank. In 12 months, we got more than 1 million consents. That's a huge number. So it was really important, someone that in a matter of 1 year could go from 0 to 1 million, and in less than 2 years go from 0 to 10 million customers. And Authority was definitely the provider that we felt was the right one to embark in this journey with us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there a question over here? Yeah.
Yeah.
We've still got a little bit of time.
Sure.
I've got a question about open banking.
Sure.
Do you support Australian open banking standards?
Yes.
You do? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
The Australian EDR, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks very much,
Yeah.
Ali, for
Yes.
that. And I'm glad we got the video to work.
Yeah,
It was-
absolutely. Thank you very much for that.